Okay, today I wanted to talk about toxigenic algae. Now you can see there's a major algal bloom going on here in this waterway, which is actually a ditch, but it's actually part of the Alouette River and eventually drains into the Pitt River. But this is rather stagnant. You wouldn't want to swim in there, I presume. But sometimes dogs, animals go in there, and just looking at it you cannot tell if it's toxigenic or not. But there are toxigenic species, and some species produce toxins depending on the environmental circumstances. But you should probably never swim where there's an algal bloom, such as this. You can see it's close to the road, boats going by, lots of boats, so someone may consider going into this algal bloom, but again, it's generally recommended to stay away from algae that can be toxic. It's similar to red tide with the dinoflagellates in the ocean, but this is in fresh water, and algae can grow in fresh water. It's probably blooming because of a mass of food source, such as phosphates and nitrates from the farming around here, drainage into this waterway, supplying the nutrients for the algae to grow into what's called a bloom, such as here. It's just completely covered with green algae, and you should not swim in this, you should not drink it. Even filtering this water with an algal bloom can still leave the toxigenic compounds in the water and could still poison you or animals. So you have to be extremely careful with algae, as there are toxigenic algae, and just looking at it you cannot really tell the difference. You would have to do tests, but that would involve days of laboratory work. For example, I remember in Lake Piru there was an algal bloom about a decade ago, and I know some dogs jumped in and never came out because the toxins killed them fairly soon. After they jumped in, they weren't even able to make it back to shore. So some of them can be very potent, like red tides can kill people and animals and fish. But you notice that by a red discoloration of the water and washing up on the beach as well. And looking out on the ocean you see redness, so the so-called red tide. But here this is a green tide, green algae. Sometimes it does turn different colors, like in the fall it may turn yellow and brown, but could still be toxic. So anyway, that's the word of the day on algae blooms, algal blooms. Green algae, blue-green algae can be very toxigenic. Don't swim in it. Don't put your pets in it. Don't feed it to your livestock. Don't drink it yourself, even after purification. So this should be free-flowing water and drained into somewhere that it can purify itself. Okay, thank you. Again, lots of traffic here. This happens to be in the Pitt Polder Agricultural Land Preserve, and we have cranberry fields right there. Because this is a bog, we have massive of horsetail or foxtail. Look at, there's a whole bucket of it there growing on an old sewer culvert. but turned sideways and now is a planter for horsetail. But remember, horsetail, again, toxigenic. You can eat it without any immediate effects, possibly, especially when the young shoots are like asparagus. People like to eat them. But over time, the toxin in it is thiaminase, will destroy your essential vitamin B1, which is thiamine, and give you beriberi with neurological, heart problems, liver problems, and even possibly death. So I would not eat horsetail or foxtail, as some people call it, even though when it's young and sprouting up in the spring does look like asparagus. Anyway, that's what it looks like here, and there, that shows you the asparagus-like stem, which I've never eaten it, but I would tend to avoid it. Long term will make you sick. Short term, there may even be cyanogenic compounds in it, and that could also make you ill. Again, potentially fatal if taken over too long and destroy your thiamine level and cause a fatal case of beriberi. That's B-E-R-I, two words put together. Okay, toxic algae, multiple toxins, somewhat similar to red tides, and horsetail, but then these giant fields of edible cranberries, which these are cultivated on purpose, non-toxic, very healthy, but again, they're on this field that's watered by this green algal growth water. So make sure, and also they flood the fields to harvest them with this water. So make sure that you wash the berries before you eat them, and especially cook them as in the cookbooks, so that you kill all the organisms, parasites, and denature the heat labile toxins that may be coming from this algae. But hopefully you've washed all the toxins and algae off first. Okay, I will produce another video. The cranberries have finished flowering, and I will go in and show you what the early fruit looks like before it's ripe. It will not be ripe for several months. Okay, it's July, and we're well into summer, and we have the algal bloom, we have the horsetails growing, and we have the cranberries well on the way to producing a commercial crop. Thank you. Please watch my next video on early cranberry formation. Thank you.